Hey guys, I just wanted to hop on here and I wanted to address something that I feel like a lot of people have questions about. And that is really just figuring out your timeline and your ceremony start time and understanding how long is everything. And, also, excuse me, I've got massive Austin allergies going on here. But I just wanted to really explain how the timeline creation process works and help you guys have a resource that you can use to be able to figure that out. Maybe as soon as you decide, your venue and not have to wait for weeks and months to get to a point where you're like, okay, now I really know where this is gonna be, and I know what part of the day this is gonna be at, and I know when I have to get dressed by. So biggest thing that I can say, that the first thing you need to look at is sunset. When is sunset? Take into consideration daylight savings. So pro tip, I just go in and Google your date, your year, and the city that you're getting married in. And if you do that, Google just tells you it's gonna be 7:47 or whatever. So you start with that. Then you know that your ceremony has to be done before that. Another question I ask, one of the first questions to figure this out also, is when are you going to do pictures? And a lot of times pictures mean whether or not you're gonna have a first look, right? Because if you have done a first look, you can knock out all of your pictures before ceremony. If you haven't done a first look, you're gonna have to spend a good solid 45 minutes doing pictures, 45 minutes to an hour, especially if you're doing couple portraits after the ceremony. So if you have to do a whole hour of pictures after the ceremony, and let's say sunset's at 7:30, that means you have to be done with your ceremony by 6:30 to be able to get a full hour of just pictures done. Which means then if your ceremony is roughly 20 to 30 minutes, that your start time would be at the latest 6 p.m. Now, let's say that you're doing a after daylight savings time in the fall, let's say like late November. Your sunset time is probably going to be closer to 5:30, 6, maybe 6 o'clock. So, and let's say you do a first look. That means that you can knock out all of your pictures of a lot of portraits of you and your partner, and then you can do all of the bridal party together and the bridal party separate, and even you with your parents and the other partner with their parents. And so you can knock out like almost every single picture, except for maybe some super extended family pictures, if those are something that are special to you, before you even have your ceremony. And I know that tradition says not to do a first look, but I can't tell you how logistically helpful it is to do a first look. It calms nerves. I've never guided a client to do a first look and then hate it. Every single time I've guided them to that way to work best on their timeline, they've loved it. So if that's something that you're like having a hard time deciding between, reach out, let me know, because I can probably talk through more of the pros and cons on why you would do one thing over the other. But with first look, you would probably do that if you had a 5:30, 6 o'clock sunset. You'd probably end up doing that around 3 o'clock, because that'll give you from 3 to 4:30 to get all of your pictures done, and then you really shouldn't be out and about 30 minutes before your wedding. So if your ceremony's at, let's say 5 o'clock, maybe even 4:30, you want to be prepared to be doing nothing but like refreshing and hydrating, going to the bathroom, cleaning up the bridal suite 30 minutes before. So if your first look's at 3, do all of these pictures till 4:30, go into hiding from 4:30, 5 o'clock ceremony start time, 5:30 you're done, and then you don't have to worry about having a ton of sunlight for pictures afterwards. So that's just some kind of different ways to understand the flow of kind of where ceremony would start, how to pick that, and how to decide how long to prep for pictures. Now, one other thing I want to keep in mind is the later your ceremony goes, another thing I guide my clients to is not having a full long cocktail hour. I have a few clients that have done a 7:30 ceremony. Some venues require it to be later because sunset is so bright that they want you to have a later ceremony start time. And so if that's the case, I cut the cocktail hour from being a full hour, because if we did that, guests wouldn't be eating dinner until 9 o'clock. So if you make it only 30 minutes for a 7:30 ceremony start time, you're gonna basically be eating dinner by 8:30 rather than 9:15, which is super important if you're a guest, because that's a really late dinner for anyone. I think those are like the main things that I wanted to make sure you guys had as a reference. If you have any questions or you want to chat more about your timeline, please feel free to reach out to me. Let's figure this out together. And sometimes it can be like a super daunting process because you just don't know where to start and what time to pick. So there's a few questions here that I have, kind of addressed that I always start asking a client when they're asking when to do their ceremony. And then we kind of build it around there, because it's not just a one and done answer. Hey, you should do it at 5 o'clock. There's a lot of things you have to take into consideration. So hope this is helpful. Hope you guys are having a great week, and more on tips and tricks soon. Talk to you guys soon.